I feel like for the last several years, we have seen numerous small business artists rise up to success, but some of them, as of lately, have burned out and are ending their business, in quotation, at least to pursue something else. So let's talk about that. First off, my name is Karen. I am an illustrator based in New York City, and I am here to yap and bring you some company while you paint, draw, sketch, or just sit and drink your tea. So let's get to it. So within the last 2 weeks, I have seen two artists quite big in their small businesses literally end their business. One being Uncomfy Studios, I think is her name, and Catnip. These two have scaled their business by a lot, and I mean a lot, in the last several years. If you have seen Catnip's vlogs for years, you would see she upgraded her studio bit by bit. She had mass amounts of products that refreshed within each season. She eventually had family help take some of the workload off, which, by the way, not every small business has this luxury. Not saying that there's not anything wrong with that, because there's nothing wrong with support. Sure, she even had some products outsourced, but she still evidently made products in her studio. And even so, she would still have to create the product or create the art, do stock, do the shipment, and even market to have a consistent flow of customers and sales. When I was starting out my small business, she was someone I really looked up to, and I was like, whoa, like I want to do this for a living, like this is sick. And I always wondered, like, how was she able to stay so posed and ambitious through it all, because you're just doing everything. Even if she had like a team, I could still imagine it being a lot for her. So after all, she was the face and the artist of her brand and had to manage many things, even making risks of products that may not even sell well. She was very inspiring, and honestly still is. Now, of course, a lot of artists or illustrators sometimes start out with a small shop, selling things online, and even selling at local markets or big conventions. However, this route sometimes leads to people pleasing, overworking, and eventually burning out. I think sometimes we tend to forget our goal in life, especially when we're in a survival mode. Selling what currently supports us can feel more immediate than waiting for client work or making a painting that may take months to sell, if it even does. And let's be real, there are hundreds of thousands of artists out there. The competition can feel overwhelming. So what's wrong with making a couple bucks or even thousands to go toward your dream? Well, let me tell you. If you're thinking about going this route, don't skip the foundation. Skillshare is honestly one of the most valuable platforms I've come across that helps bridge that creative passion with sustainable strategy. If you haven't explored it yet, Skillshare is a massive online learning community built specifically for creatives. There are thousands of classes covering everything from illustration and design to animation, photography, film, and even entrepreneurship. No matter where you are in your journey, just starting out or years in, there's something for you to grow from. What I appreciate most is that Skillshare classes are led by experienced creatives who really understand how to teach in a way that's clear, motivating, and practical. It's not just theory, you're encouraged to make something with every class. That hands-on approach is what sets it apart and makes the learning actually stick. One class I recently watched was The Artist's Roadmap: Plan Your Art Business for the Year Ahead Using Notion by Shivani Patel. And it completely shifted how I think about running my shop in a more organized and collective way, itching to use Notion more often to help me not only organize my business, as well as my life. If you want to check it out, she goes from the basics to quarterly breakdowns. It's honestly worth watching if you really want to map out your business when you start out. So, if you're ready to take your art and your business seriously, but in a way that feels right for you, this is a great place to start. And don't forget, the first 500 people who join using the link in the description will get 1 month free on Skillshare. It's a small step that could make a huge difference for your future. And thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Now, after you've figured out, like, okay, I want to pursue this occupation, here are some downsides to this said occupation. You have to constantly make new products, risk manufacturer faults or troubles, maybe even make your own products, which can take many hours, which stops you from creating, and even having to ship all those items, which consists of writing a thank you card maybe, and making the shipping label, packing it up all cute, and then shipping it off to USPS or whatever you have it, having to handle customer service. If something gets lost, you have to figure that out. And even now, it's worse for artists who rely on manufacturers, as of these stupid tariffs that are happening in America. They're making the charge of goods go up by a lot, and I mean a lot. And this isn't only affecting like artists in America, but also artists outside of that country, of this country, because I live in America, because there is such a high percentage of tariffs going in and out, actually mostly in, the consumer would have to pay more for that product But if it's too much, it's going to be like, well, I'm not going to buy this product. So then people who don't live in America, artists that don't live in America, who make a lot of profit from America, they're going to lose out on some sales, if you know what I'm saying. So honestly, there is no winning. It's either you make all the products yourself and overwork yourself, leaving little time to create more art, or you make a buttload of money for products that you'll eventually have to up your costs just to make enough profit back to have food on the table. Now, from my experience, and honestly, I don't know why I keep coming back to this, I've been doing this for about 5 years now, and as each year goes by, I've drawn less and less. I have no energy to make new and original products. It's even harder for me as I paint traditionally and takes up a lot of time and materials. I make most of my prints at home and occasionally outsource coloring books or just other things, and have also been making stickers at home again, which has become less tedious with Cricut, but still nonetheless it does take my time. I burn out at least quarterly, and at least once or twice a year, I will say, okay, I don't want to sell online anymore. I want to close my shop. And you know what happens 3 to 4 months later? I come out with new stuff and I continue selling up my shop. If you followed me for long enough, I sometimes create these upcycled screen printed clothes that take, my god, at least over a month just to create 20 to 30 pieces, maybe 2 to 3 months. By each drop, I always tell my partner, okay, don't let me do this again. And then bam, I do it again because I'm bored or I'm ambitious, and maybe I have some ideas that I'm like, oh my god, this would be so cool if I like upcycle this. The times I would create new artwork, I would think, okay, how can I make this into a product? How can I make this painting meaningful to my audience? And that sucks. And maybe there's a better way of handling things, and sometimes I do remember like, okay, I'm gonna handle it like this, and then I forget. Even the habits that I need to keep up, I really have to do it consecutively to just push it into my brain. But like I've said before, Uncomfy and Catnip have evidently shown that they have overworked, burned out, and for Uncomfy Studio, she risks her physical health. If you want to watch her video, watch her video. She talks about it. They both talk about their future endeavors. But as of now, each of them are planning to make more mass-produced items. And as for Catnip, she wants to do more children book illustrations, which I totally respect. I don't blame her. Honestly, seeing more and more of these artists amid the faults of culture grind or being a one-man band with all these small businesses, it's very encouraging, at least for me, to want to pursue more than just making products for my store and selling through there. Don't get me wrong, I will continue to do so because it doesn't take up too much of my time. It's not my main source of income, but at the very least, I want to be able to continue to make more art for myself. I want to create more comics that that other people can relate to my pain and suffering, and hopefully eventually make a collection of a book with those. But nonetheless, I do want to make more long-lasting products that will be higher in value but more valuable for the long run. Maybe perhaps I want to sell my original paintings because they just rot away in my little portfolio book, and I'm just like, okay, maybe I should do something with this. I want to create more coloring books, art books, and clothes especially. Please watch out for that because I'm cooking up something good for the summer. I especially want more time for just creating art, not only with illustrating but striving for better content creation through all of the platforms that I have. And I just want to do more than just a small business, you know? I want to go more in the route of an illustrator, maybe doing advertisement art or something of the sort. I'm bored. For some artists, it might be like they're burnt out, which I totally understand because it's a lot of work to upkeep a small business, especially if you're just doing it yourself. But at least for me, I have little to no motivation anymore for this kind of stuff. Maybe it might be different for you, and it's different for other artists where they enjoy doing it, and that's totally fine. I encourage you, I implore you to try it out if you think that's your thing. There's just sometimes there's gains and losses, and I've had a lot of losses, and I just want to try new things. And would you say that there is a decline to small businesses? No, I think it's still very evidently existent, and it will continue to grow because it's becoming easier and easier to make a business honestly. But is this the time for you to open an online shop? Maybe it's a yes, maybe it's a no. Yes, in the sense of maybe people are quitting, so it gives you less of a competition to worry about. Maybe no, because it is very time consuming, very draining. You could eventually burn out, a lot of money put into it eventually, and perhaps you'll start to hate art. But I think hating art is just a endless cycle within being a freelance artist, which is totally fine, just as long as you learn to love it again. That's all that matters. Nonetheless, it is your call as to whether you want to make a small business. Do I encourage the culture grind? I think you should pace yourself, because you will burn out. And there are, not just with small businesses or just businesses in general, the people who do have a upscaling business, they really do work hard. Especially, let's use Mr. Beast as an example. He literally said in an interview that he just breathed and dreamt about YouTube content, like what he can do better and all this jazz. And he literally said, yeah, I don't recommend this to anyone. This was a very toxic thing, but he was just really obsessed with his work. And it's okay to be obsessed, but at the same time, if it starts to affect your well-being mentally and physically, maybe emotionally, I don't know, maybe that's time for self-reflection. And if you do choose to do this whole little small business thing, do monthly reflections and see what I can do better, what am I doing wrong, what should I change the habit of, and go from there. Nonetheless, thank you for yapping. Did you draw something? Did you sketch something? Did you drink your tea? Were you just listening? I don't know. Anyways, thank you for listening, and I will catch you in the next video. Maybe you want to subscribe, maybe, perhaps, mayhaps. Check out my other videos, because I do a lot of yapping. And check out my Instagram, because I post there a lot. And you should be following me by now. I'm just saying. Nonetheless, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.